Now, here's Terry.
So what you get to see is at that moment, you have a thought that you're evil, which you're projecting onto someone else, and say, cancel. That person is beautiful, loving, magnificent, and I will wash their feet. You know, the Lord washed the feet of the disciples, and he said, if I have done that to you, why don't you go do that to everyone? Do you see every person as a precious, magnificent child of God? See, the more you see that, see, the more you will live in another world. Another world. All right, now, because we've got to move on here, I want to tell you a story about this, okay? We were on our some more of the book tour, and about 2 weeks before we got to, about a week before we got to Pittsburgh, I found out that I was to be on a television program that I was looking forward to because I'd been on that same program about 16 years ago. And I found out that we'd been canceled. We weren't going to be on this television program in not Pittsburgh, in Cincinnati, excuse me. So we weren't going to be on this program in Cincinnati. And I thought, no, and I first started to think, they don't like me. I mean, first thought, they don't want me on there. I'm controversial, or my little mind started to do something with it. Immediately started to project that. I thought, wait a minute, no, that's not it. And they had said that they'd had too many religious people on, and they just didn't want to do that anymore for a while, so they canceled me. So that I was going to Cincinnati, I looked inside myself and I thought, I really want to be on that program. And I know I'm supposed to be on that program. So what I did is I forgave myself, I forgave anybody else. I stopped thinking in that thought system. I stopped going in that direction. And what I did is I said, all right, I'm turning this over to the Lord. And I'm turning it over through the love that is in my mind of the Holy Spirit, because I know that God uses me. And I am willing to be used by God. You want that to be the purpose of your work. I don't care if you're a clothes designer or a car salesman or you're in real estate. Your purpose is to bring people into sonship with God through you, and your excuse is your work. That's all that it is. And the more you feel safe to be around, the more you'll allow yourself to be with more people, so therefore the more you will allow your service or your product to be out there, which is what is going to allow you to what you call succeed. That's all that it is. And I want you to know these 4 weeks we're dealing with success. That this week and the next 3 after this, we're dealing with success and the aspects of that. And the first is here to think the unthinkable and to do the impossible is to shift your life into another realm where you live that God is your source, that everything you do is directed by God, everything you have comes from God, and that God opens up all the paths to you to do His work. Through whatever work you do, that is just your excuse, so that you allow yourself to give service with excellence and love and commitment, but more importantly, that you allow yourself to come into relationship with people to love them. And then people are restored to the holy relationship out of the love that you project to them, or the love that comes from you. So I said, all right, I am willing to love this man on this program and all the people, and I'm going to be on that program. And I know that when I get to Cincinnati, something is going to happen. They're going to call me, and I'm going to be on that program. And I said, and I totally surrender to God. If that's not your will, I won't do it. But I'm so willing to surrender into your will. I am your servant. I am your slave. I will do anything that you want, because that's where the joy is. That's where the joy is. You don't live in fear. You let God do it. Now, how you do your part is you prepare, you do your job, you do it with excellence, you correct, and we'll deal with some of those in the subsequent talks. All right, so I was on this radio program. I totally released it, totally surrendered it. I was on this radio program, and I'm talking on the radio. We get a note at the radio program that says, Bob Braun, who is the host of this program in Cincinnati, just called, and he wants you on his program today. And so, when I got to the station, and I did the program, it was wonderful, and he told me how it happened. This is how God works. When you surrender your life, everything impossible turns around to the possible, because you don't have to do it. You have to be willing. Okay. He got in his car, and there'd been snowstorms. He couldn't get his car to go, so he got in his wife's car. He turned on the radio, and she always has it on an AM station. He pushed the wrong button. He's always on FM. He pushed the wrong button and went to AM. He pushed another button. He didn't know what that was. Put him right on the radio show I was on. He listened. He said, "Isn't she supposed to be on my program today?" He didn't know I'd been canceled. He called and said, "I want her." I got on the program. Why? Because God uses me. God uses you to be everything, and everything you want, you get when you surrender your life to a higher power and you think the unthinkable and you accept the impossible as already been done as the will of God. Thank you.